What's going on, Warriors fans? We're just one day away from a game that, let's be honest, many of us wish we didn't even have to play. It's the kind of matchup that feels like a last chance, a final stand, and it's raising a lot of questions, especially after some strange lineup decisions and the injury scare we saw at the end of the last game. There's tension in the air, and whether you're feeling hopeful or frustrated, this moment is critical. Now, let's rewind just a bit and talk about what went down in that previous matchup. The Warriors went into that game knowing it was going to be intense, and it didn't disappoint. But what stood out wasn't just the overtime drama, it was who wasn't on the floor. One player in particular didn't touch the court for even a second, and considering the magnitude of the game, that silence was deafening. We've now learned that it wasn't a random call, it was planned. From the start, the coaching staff had no intention of putting him in the rotation. According to inside sources, the coach made that decision even before tip-off, choosing to give those minutes to another player, someone who has recently gained his trust. When asked in the post-game press conference, the coach didn't dodge the topic. He explained that the team had found a unit that worked well ever since a certain mid-season addition arrived, and right now, they're sticking with what feels stable. He even mentioned feeling comfortable with this particular group, which probably explains the shortened rotation. But that's not to say those left out are no longer in consideration. It's more about the specific flow of that game. Another player who's been a major contributor over the last few months was also benched. That stung. Both of these guys have been instrumental at times, and seeing them sit out such an important match makes you wonder about the future rotation. The coach did clarify that one of them had been told beforehand he wouldn't be playing, which is fair, but still hard to digest. Especially when you think about what this player has done in past matchups, like the game against a rival where he put up 38 points and grabbed 10 rebounds. It's hard to ignore that kind of production. But here's the thing. Since coming back from injury, he hasn't looked like himself. His offensive rhythm is off. He's been inefficient, and worse, he's not fitting into the system. He's clogging the lanes, taking poor shots, and struggling to find his place on the floor. And look, it's not like he was ever a pure floor spacer, but now it feels like he's actively hurting the flow of the offense. That's the kind of risk a coach can't afford in a must-win scenario. There were already stretches in that last game where the team couldn't buy a bucket, so adding someone who hasn't found his shot just isn't worth it right now. When one player's out there giving you 48 minutes and another is pushing 40, you simply don't have space to gamble with someone who might disrupt that balance. The coach even commented recently that having those three players on the floor at the same time hasn't worked the way they hoped, and it's frustrating because expectations were sky high. During the early part of the season, especially when the team was dealing with injuries, this same player actually helped them go on a run. In the first 14 games he played, the Warriors went 12-2. That's not a coincidence. During that stretch, the team posted an offensive rating of 121.6. which, over a full season, would have been the best in the league. Defensively, they weren't far behind, with a rating of 109.6, good enough to rank in the top 5 league-wide. Those are elite numbers, and they tell the story of a team clicking on both ends. They also averaged 25 free throw attempts per game during that run, a number that would lead the entire NBA. But here's the twist. Since that player returned to the rotation, those free throw numbers dropped to just 20 per game. That's a big dip. Now, can you blame it entirely on one guy? Probably not. But it does speak to a shift in the team style, a less aggressive approach, and maybe even a less effective one. So what do you make of that? Is this a case of a declining player? Has his moment passed? I don't think it's that simple. His future with the team is uncertain, sure, but he might still have a role to play in the postseason. A veteran on the roster actually offered him some advice recently, something every young player in the league needs to hear. You never know when your moment will come, but when it does, you better be ready. And honestly, that's what this feels like. The last game just wasn't his moment. But the next one? Maybe. We've seen stranger things happen in the playoffs. All it takes is one injury, one cold stretch from the starters, or one spark off the bench, and suddenly you're back in a mix. But there's another layer to this story, the front office. There's been a lot of second-guessing lately about how the organization handled this player's situation. Before the season started, he reportedly asked for a contract extension, something in the ballpark of $30 million a year. That's a big ask, and let's be real, he hasn't played like someone worth that kind of money. Still, the question remains. If the team wasn't willing to pay him, why didn't they trade him? Why not package him in a deal to get someone who could stretch the floor, drop 30 points, and shoot 40% from deep? Imagine that kind of player sharing the court with your franchise stars. It's the kind of move that could have changed everything. Instead, the Warriors held on to him, and now, if he walks this summer, they might get nothing in return. That's a brutal scenario, and it highlights what's becoming a recurring theme: mismanagement. At this point, even if they do pull off a trade, they're unlikely to get equal value back. And so, with each passing game, the odds of him playing a meaningful role in the playoffs get smaller and smaller. But here's the kicker. Some fans still believe he should be in there, especially after that loss. Maybe he could have made a difference. So what do you think? Should he get another shot in the play-in? Does he deserve a spot in such a crucial game? Drop a P in the comments if you think he should play, or an S if you think it's time for him to sit. Personally, I've got my eyes on a different guy. A young player who hasn't been mentioned much lately, but who absolutely deserves a look. He's the kind of hustle player who might not fill the stat sheet, but you feel his impact. Diving for loose balls, fighting for extra possessions. Those are the little things that win games, especially when the margins are razor thin. It's frustrating that he hasn't gotten more minutes, particularly when the team could have used that energy. When the Warriors were playing their best basketball, this young guy was right there in the mix. He filled in for injured players, kept the intensity up, and helped the team maintain a high level. So why not give him a shot now, in the biggest game of the season? He's earned it. And I'm telling you, if they put him in, he could end up making a game-changing play. That's how close these contests can be. Just one possession, one rebound, one defensive stand. It could be the difference between advancing and going home. We're going to talk about an important injury update in just a bit, but for now, that's where things stand with the lineup decisions. There's pressure on the coaching staff, on the front office, and definitely on the players. The fan base feels it. Every rotation choice, every substitution, every missed opportunity, it all gets magnified at this stage. And with the Grizzlies looming in the next matchup, the Warriors can't afford to get this wrong. Now, let's shift the focus to that injury scare from the last game, the one that had every Warriors fan holding their breath. Late in the matchup, one of the team's key players took a hit and was visibly limping afterward. It didn't look good at all. At first glance, some people feared it was a knee collision, possibly something serious. But after further evaluation, it turns out to be a deep thigh bruise. Still painful, still tricky, but not a season-ending issue. That's a relief. He managed to finish the game, but you could tell he wasn't moving quite right. Even during the post-game press conference, he was walking with a slight limp, which is never something you want to see from your go-to guy right before a crucial play-in game. When asked how he was feeling, he played it cool, said he'd be fine, joked about grabbing some coffee and playing dominoes to relax. Classic response from a player who's been through the fire before and knows how to downplay the pain. Still, behind that smile, there's concern because everyone knows the kind of physical effort it takes to play at the level he does. And we're not talking about just any player. This guy just dropped 30 points and dished out 9 assists against the Clippers. He was aggressive, he was locked in, and he was clearly the driving force behind the Warriors' offense that night. What made that performance stand out wasn't just the numbers. It was how he stepped up when others didn't. There were stretches where he looked like the only one willing to take control. He called for the ball, made tough plays, got to the line, and pushed the pace. That's exactly the type of presence the Warriors need if they want to make a serious push. But the big question now is, can he do it again in the next game? Is that thigh bruise going to hold him back, even just a little? Because the Warriors are heading into a do-or-die situation against a hungry Grizzlies team that's looking to capitalize on every weakness. And if your top scorer is even a step slow, that could change everything. Still, if there's one thing we know about this player, it's that he doesn't back down. He'll show up and fight through the pain. The only question is how much of his usual explosiveness he'll be able to bring. Meanwhile, the rest of the team is looking to regroup and channel that same energy he brought in the last game. The coaching staff knows exactly what's at stake. They've been here before, and they understand that one slip-up could mean the end of the road. That's why these final lineup decisions matter so much. Every player who steps on the court has to contribute. There's no room for deadweight, no space for long scoring droughts, and definitely no time for inefficient shot selection. One player in particular is now under the microscope, especially after signing a deal that could be worth $55 or even $60 million over the next couple of years. The expectations have skyrocketed, not just for his scoring, but for his overall impact. And let's be honest, he hasn't been as aggressive as he needs to be. There have been too many games where he fades into the background, where his shot attempts barely hit double digits, and that can't happen anymore. If this team wants to make a real playoff run, he has to become a consistent offensive weapon. That means attacking the rim, taking the open threes, drawing fouls, doing all the things he's capable of but hasn't done enough of. Against the Clippers, he finally showed signs of life. He took more shots, made better reads, and looked more involved. That's exactly what needs to happen moving forward. This team doesn't need him to be a superstar every night, but they do need him to be assertive, efficient, and locked in. The margin for error is razor thin right now. Every point matters, every possession counts, and every rotation decision could determine whether the season continues or ends right here. Now, let's look ahead. The Warriors are getting ready to face the Grizzlies in a massive showdown. One of those games that define a season. It's win or go home. All the preparation, all the adjustments, all the drama from earlier this year, it comes down to this. And there's a sense of belief in that locker room. The players aren't panicking. They feel like they're right where they need to be. They're confident. They've been through adversity before, and they've come out stronger. But they'll need more than belief. They'll need execution. They'll need toughness. And they'll need someone to step up when the lights are brightest. In the last game, it was clear who that was. One player stood above the rest. He led the charge with 30 points, 9 assists, a steal, and a block. And the efficiency, that was the best part. He wasn't just taking shots. He was making them and doing it in rhythm. That's the kind of leadership that changes the tone of a playoff run. That's what inspires confidence in your teammates and fear in your opponents. But now, the challenge is to do it again, this time with even more pressure, this time with the season on the line. And if he's not at 100%, someone else has to pick up the slack. That's why all eyes are on the supporting cast. Everyone knows the stars will show up. The question is, who else will rise to the occasion? It's going to be intense. It's going to be emotional. And it's going to tell us everything we need to know about the heart of this team. Warriors versus Grizzlies. Everything on the line. Let's see who wants it more. Before we continue, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Dubs updates. Let's keep going. In a stunning twist that could shake the foundation of the Western Conference playoff picture, whispers have turned into roars. The NBA is reportedly moving forward with a disciplinary action that could drastically alter the fate of the Golden State Warriors. Though the league has yet to issue an official press release, credible insiders are suggesting that a ruling might strip the team of postseason eligibility, a bombshell development that has left fans, analysts, and players in disbelief. Just as the Warriors were starting to hit their stride, a cloud of controversy now threatens to derail their campaign altogether. Sources close to the situation allege that the punishment stems from repeated violations of internal league policies, the nature of which remains undisclosed to the public. Speculation ranges from salary cap circumvention to improper conduct involving team personnel. While nothing has been confirmed, what's undeniable is the level of tension now surrounding the franchise. Golden State has long been one of the NBA's golden children, a dynasty revered for its mix of Showtime basketball and business acumen. But if these allegations carry weight, the consequences could be historic. Behind the scenes, league officials are reportedly debating whether to impose immediate sanctions that could impact the Warriors' eligibility for the 2025 playoffs. That would not only reshape the current postseason landscape, but also raise questions about how the league enforces its rules for high-profile franchises. Some insiders believe that Commissioner Adam Silver is under pressure to make an example out of Golden State, a move that would send a powerful message to the rest of the league about accountability, no matter a team's past glory. The potential fallout is already echoing across the NBA. Rival teams are recalculating their paths to the finals. Fans are erupting on social media. And even former players have chimed in, some defending the Warriors, others demanding transparency. As the tension builds, so does the curiosity. What exactly did the Warriors do? And why now, when the stakes are higher than ever? If playoff disqualification is truly on the table, it could trigger the most dramatic shift in league dynamics since the infamous Malice at the Palace era. For now, Dub Nation holds its breath, clinging to hope that the final verdict won't be as severe as feared. But until the NBA makes a formal announcement, every minute feels like an eternity. One thing is certain. If the punishment goes through as rumored, it won't just be the end of season for the Warriors. It could mark the end of an era. Stay updated exclusively with the latest Dub Nation news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep getting daily updates on the Warriors. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Your input is essential for the Dubs community. Stay tuned for the next video.